about 10 grand.
Yep.
There's very condemning information in here, and it was written by white scholars. This guy Weisman, a German Jew himself. All right, but on page 7, again, there was 7 through 9 in the last one. It talks about John Hycranus, which this history can be found in the book of Maccabees.
All right.
And it says, the Nabians now occupied Mount Seir, and the Edomites were driven into the old territory of Judah. The Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judites, had ruled Judea from 166 to 37 BC, and under Judas Maccabee, and then it gives you 1 Maccabee 5 and 3. Somebody grab that.
You see, and you have to know the history, all right, of the Israelites in the Greek Empire. If you throw that history away, all right, none of what you read from the book of Matthew going forward is really going to make sense. You have to have, all right, the history of the Israelites in the Greek captivity. Okay?
We captured the city of Hebron from the Edomites during the time of John Hycranus, the nephew of Judas. The Judites, notice it didn't say Jews, were again faced with hostility of the Idumeans. Who got it?
I got it.
Break it out, brother.
This is 1 Maccabees 5, starting at verse 3. The Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arbeton because they Gal, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their sport.
Now understand, he didn't fight against all of Idumea. He fought against those Idumeans that were there. All right? Idumean is a large race. They're the smallest race, but they're still a large race.
All right, and we have been, having back and forth with those Edomites, all right, for years at the time of the Greeks. All right, okay, remember it was the holiday Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, which Yahushua himself celebrated. It's not condemned by Yahushua. He was at the feast, okay, because he knew about the history. He celebrated what they call, Hanukkah, all right, Chanach, the Feast of Dedication. You see, and when you go into that history, let's get it real quick. You go into that history, 2 Maccabees, well, 1 Maccabees, the fourth chapter. Okay, it lets you know that the people we were at war with, the Seleucid Empire and so forth, right? Antiochus, it lets you know that who were we saved from at that time? Okay, 1 Maccabees 4 and 61, and they set there a garrison to keep it and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea, the Edomites. Proven to you the Greeks are the Edomites. All right, but you had particular of them calling themselves Greeks. You had particular of them calling themselves Romans. You had even some of them, as we're getting ready to show you, calling themselves Jews after a point in time. In later history from this point. You see? So again, the holy day known as Hanukkah, which is pretty much 8 days of celebration. Okay, verse 60, it says, and at that time they builded up Mount Sinai with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. Okay, going back to the what Antiochus and them did. Okay, so there you go. It was the Edomites. Okay, so let's keep listening.
So he didn't fight against all Idumea because the Romans themselves were Idumeans. All right, so he was fighting against a portion of them, and they were, and the whole time of the Hellenization of the Israelites, of the Jews, the Idumeans were at war with each other. Seleucus versus Ptolemy and Demetrius, all that shit that went on. All that crazy shit that went on back and forth. The Grecians and the Romans.
Yep, the Greeks and the Romans were at war as well during these times. Okay, but the figure he's reading about, John Hycranus, is a descendant of the Maccabean Empire, okay, who pretty much stood, okay, and kept the customs as Hellenization was going on. All right, they stood stiffly and won a few skirmishes, but eventually, they lost. But the history following the Maccabean Empire led to the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, the elder is going into a book that goes into one of those men who was a part of that. Okay, John Hycranus, and what he did.
They were all Edomites, so they were all in power, but yet they were all at war with one another.
It's just like today. You have
Russia,
you have America, you have the liberals. Those are all Edomites.
Somebody hold First Maccabee 15:33 as well.
Okay.
All right, it says, during the time of John Hycranus, 135 to 105 BC, the nephew of Judas, the Judites, once again, it didn't say Jews, were faced again with the hostility of the Idumeans. Hycranus confronted the Edomites, causing a decisive change in relations between the two factions. John Hycranus conquered the whole of Edom. No, he didn't. That's a lie. He conquered a portion of Edom. So that's that white Christian lie right there.
Right.
Then they try to say Edom was done away with. They can never produce the receipts. All right. But so I'm going to correct it. John Hycranus conquered.
And this book goes off, all right, on a lot of prophetic points, all right, but it's on point with some of the history, but you also have to, know where they go off, because what they're trying to say is that, the Edomites are the people over in the Holy Land, and then, the Christian Edomite is Jacob, No, that's a damn lie. Anyway, let's just keep listening, all right.
A portion of Edom and undertook the forced conversion of the inhabitants to Judaism. That is the beginning of Judaism, of being Jewish. Sarah Silverman, Michael Rappaport, all right, Joy Bauer, all right, and all the rest of you. That was the beginning of your Jewishness, okay? And that's also recorded in the Josephus, the Antiquity of Josephus, the 13th chapter. And you can go to the 9th chapter, around verse 1. Thenceforth, the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people. All right, so Edomites became Jewish. Here's the records.
Where is that? You want it in First Maccabees?
15 and 33.
Oh, you want it now?
Go ahead, bring it out, brother.
All right, this is First Maccabees, chapter 15, verse 33. It says, Then answered Simon and said unto him, We have neither taken other men's land, nor holden that which appertaineth to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time.
Ooh.
See, and what he's reading, all right, see if I can find that. I think he said, let's see. See if I can pull that up. Yep, First Maccabees 15 and 33. And this ties into what we're going into. As you can see, it says, Then answered Simon and said unto him, We have neither taken other man's land, nor holden that which, pertaineth to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time, which is the promised land. All right, which from the time of 70 AD, as we're going to get you, okay, it would be our enemies, actual heathen, not the real Israelites, who would be in control of that land until the end times. You see, but we're just going and showing you the beginning of these Edomites, all right, being called Jews. You see, now let's go back here and listen to a little bit more. Right, because there was a few other reasons why John Hycranus made them to, be Jews. All right, it was a political thing as well, because they were at war and he needed numbers. Let's keep listening.
Keep going.
No, that's good. That was the point.
There it is.
All right, and then let me continue, and then I'm going to show you the receipts. I'm going to go around to each camera that's recording, so that people can screenshot this information where it's coming from. That's one thing I love about this book, because all the information that he gives you the evidence, the references where it came from. All right, right there at the bottom. That's very important to have. So this information came out of from John D. Davis. Bob, so let me read it first.
Okay.
And John D. Davis, A Dictionary of the Bible, 1934, page 332. Somebody looked that up, Baba Kashab. John D. Davis, A Dictionary of the Bible, 1934.
Wow.
Yahweh Ratazah, I want to get my hands on this book. This is why they don't like fucking with us. My teachers taught us well, man. We in that the water, brother. He did.
That's right. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahshai for leaders who taught us to take this truth serious and know what the hell we're talking about. Okay, not just be out there just talking. You know, you got to know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, you putting it up so everybody can see it. When you go to the bottom, that's the receipts. You can clear it up.
All right, and if you have the book or if you're looking at the PDF, the receipts are right here. Okay, at the bottom. Okay. It's in their own encyclopedias that this information comes out. So as the prophecy said, their own tongues will fall on themselves. Let's get that. Okay. Psalms 64:8, and so shall they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, and all that see them shall flee away when they see the liars that they are. Okay, and this is why everything is going downhill for you Edomites, man. Okay, let's go back.
Yeah, they can see it. Come on. And it says, and then the next one is Encyclopedia Judaica, Volume 6, 1971, page 378. The New Standard, yeah, they might mess around and delete this video.
They definitely
Not my page.
All right? And we haven't said anything anti-Sem worthy. We're just bringing out evidences and truths and history. All right? Encyclopedia Judaica, Volume 6, 1971, page 378. The New Standard Jewish Encyclopedia, 1977, page 589, reiterates the same account. And then finally, the John Davis at Dictionary of the Bible, 1934, page 332. So all these historians have documented this information. Somebody can grab those scriptures that's written there too. First Maccabees 5:65 and First Maccabees 6:2. But let me finish. It says the last paragraph. Thus, at the juncture of the time, the Edomites were then incorporated with the Jewish nation, and the country was called by the Greeks and Romans Idumea. All right, there's the controversy of Zion right there. That's your Ezekiel 36:5 right there. All right, and so these converts, fast forward to modern day time, fast forward to the 12th century, they actually started calling themselves the real people.
All right, now let's also get this video. This is John Hycranus versus the World, where it goes into some of the history as to why he converted those Edomites to Jews.
But now they were emphatically subjects of Jerusalem. Having nearly doubled the size of the Jewish state in a scant 3 years, Hycranus turned south and did it all over again, making war against the Edomites. In the Bible, the Edomites are the descendants of Israel's brother Esau. They were a fellow Hebrew-speaking people and had been Jewish vassals during the early Davidic period, but they were also idolaters.
When David ruled, he had the Edomites in captivity. That's what they were saying. As they were vassals, they were under David, along with the other heathen. All right, and see, the throne of David that's being rebuilt as in the days of old, all right, is going to do the same thing, all right, but in an even greater fashion, you see? And this is what Christians don't want to talk about. This is what these people don't want to talk about. The throne of David being set up in the earth is not a kingdom for all people, just as the throne of David, all right, when he established his throne wasn't for all people. And again, remember the Lord said he's going to build up the tabernacle of David as in the days of old. Okay? This is why they keep running to the Deuteronomy 23:7, abhor not an Edomite, which is a Syrian. When you look up the clerical era, okay, it's really a rum. All right, it's not Edom. The Ra and the Da look similar. Okay, so it says Edomite, but really it's a Syrian. Okay, and when you go to the understanding of that, all right, those were Abraham's descendants, his brothers, his people. All right, which ultimately Jacob was to go get a wife, from amongst those people, because they ultimately were descendants. All right, they were the sons and daughters of God, basically, before we were called Israelites. Okay, anyway, this is 1 Chronicles 18:13, and he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. Okay, thus Yahweh preserved David whithersoever he went. Okay, so this is, the Edomites didn't just go away here. Eventually they uprooted themselves, and and we're looking into some of the history of where they are, giving us hell again. All right. But one of the, offshoot of the Maccabean Empire, okay, leading to the Hasmonean dynasty, John Hycranus at one point, as we're reading about, took them down right here.
And had fanatically supported the Seleucids during the Maccabean revolt, so Judea's continued independence was contingent on removing the Edomite threat. Now, as a kid in shul, I was taught that Esau's descendants were destined to be Israel's eternal rivals, which, I don't know, was meant to be as confusing as possible because the Edomites don't exist anymore.
You see? And this is what they want you to believe. But the Edomites do exist. Okay? And they can never go to any biblical source to show you that all of the Edomites were already done away with. It's a future prophecy where they're going to be done away with. You see? Now, he said the Edomites supported the Seleucid Empire, during the Maccabean revolt, but they were all Edomites. You just had some that called themselves Greeks, Seleucid Empire, which are the Greeks, and some that were still calling themselves Idumea. We just showed you that in the book of dealing with the Hanukkah. Okay, and this is the narrative that they try to run from, and they just throw it out there as the Edomites are gone. No, they ain't. When were they gone? When did they get destroyed? When did the line of Herod, okay, and Agrippa just get obliterated out of the earth? They didn't. They were just able to hide themselves under different identities. All right. And what we're showing you, one of the identities they hid themselves under, all right, is the Israelites.
This is why. After conquering Edom, probably with help from the Nabatean Arabs, almost half of Judea's population was non-Jewish, which under Jewish law meant that nearly half the population was exempt from certain taxes as well as military service.
You see, this is one of the reasons, too, why Hycranus converted them to Jews, because you couldn't fight in the military without being a Jew, and you didn't have to pay taxes. So he, for political reasons and advantages, all right, because they were at war, he converted them to Jews, all right, so they can fight in his war, okay?
With basically no legal way to deal with this, Hycranus had the entire Edomite population forcibly converted to Judaism.
And it wasn't the entire, it was just some of them, okay?
A wildly unhalachic act that had basically no precedent and tore a permanent rift between Hycranus and the Pharisees. I'm going to get into this more in the next episode.
All right, so you can look this video up. All right, the Pharisees, which were, there at the time of Yahweh Shah, they were pissed off about that. Okay, but it was a political move, and ultimately a lot of the Edomites then were calling themselves Jews. That was the beginning of it. Now, in this book, the elder was reading from page 7. Okay, as you can see right here, this is where he was reading from. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to the next page. Okay, and I have some things highlighted as well. Okay, because it goes into what? The Herodian dynasty. Okay, the Herodian dynasty. Now let's read here at the bottom of page 7. It says, thus at this juncture of the time of the Edomites, they were incorporated with the Jews, and their country was called by the Greeks and Romans Idumea. Okay? Yeah, Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom. It says, but the tide turned in favor of the Edomite fraction when Julius Caesar made Antipater an Edomite, which who's Antipater? You should know this. If you've been watching and paying attention, Antipater is the father of Herod. The Herod who tried to put the Messiah to death when he was born. Okay? Which, when you go into that, okay, in Revelation, the 12th chapter. Okay, let's get Revelation, the 12th chapter. Okay? The red dragon, okay, is synonymous with that. Okay? This is Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. We know red is synonymous with Esau. Okay, having 7 heads and 10 horns, his power structure. Okay? And 7 crowns upon his heads. Okay, and that's ultimately the Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Minor, Spain, French, and the British. And out of British came Babylon the Great. All of these are the revival of Rome, all right, which really goes back to the Renaissance. Okay, Rome fell and then it was rebirthed into the earth through the Renaissance. Okay, but this is speaking of the original Rome, okay? The Roman Empire ran by the Edomites, okay? That was in power at the time Yahushua came on the scene. So it says, this great red dragon, all right, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Casted them to the earth, meaning he had them in a lower state. The third part of the stars of heaven is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Okay, these are Edomites. Okay, the reason Herod was so gung-ho about putting the Messiah to death, because he knew ultimately what that represented for him. Okay, because what was this child going to do when it was eventually? Verse 5, and she brought forth a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And that's after his sacrifice. You know, he broke bread with brothers and sisters 40 days and 40 nights, and then he returned to the Father. Herod wanted to cut that process off. See, and Herod was an Edomite. That's why I said a great red dragon, but we're even going to go into the history and show you his father was an Edomite. Okay, and when you just do the cross-reference, you can read that history in Matthew, the 2nd chapter, when Herod, the king, who was he calling himself, the king of the Jews, which is the history we're going into. Okay, from the point of these Edomites who were forced and converted to being Jews, okay, by John Hycranus. Okay, we're going here. Let's start over. Thus, at this juncture of the time of the Edomites, all right, were then incorporated to the Jews' nation, and their country was called by the Greeks and Romans Idumea. But the tide turned in favor of the Edomite fraction, all right, as history went on, when Julius Caesar made Antipater an Idumean, an Edomite, procurator, all right, of Judea in 47 BC. When Antipater was killed 4 years later, his son Herod gained power, but was rejected by the Judites. Eventually, I mean, they sold out, but a lot of Jake wasn't with that. They were like, hell nah. Okay? Herod shrewdly gained support of Rome. With a Roman army at his heels, he returned to Palestine, okay, the land of Israel, and after a 6-month siege, he captured Jerusalem and became king of Judea in 37 BC. And this is why you see in the scriptures, all right, Herod is called the king of the Jews. Now, when you look into scriptures, It's not just one Herod. Every time you see the word Herod, it's not the one who tried to kill Yahushua. All right. Even the one who, when Paul was in jail or getting, persecuted to be put in jail by the Jews, he was speaking to Agrippa. He was of this dynasty. He's of this line. He's an Edomite. Herodes means heroic. All right. It says the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the time of Hamashiach and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater the Idumean, and appointed king of Judea BC 40 by the Roman Senate at the suggestion of Antony, all right, with the consent of Octavian, all right, and they go a little bit further into the history. He at length overcame great opposition, which the country made to him, and took possession of the kingdom BC 37. Okay, and then it goes into another Herod, okay, which ultimately this is the one that had John the Baptist's head cut off. Okay, and you have Herod Agrippa, okay, and then you have Herod Agrippa II, okay. And see, nowhere in history was this line completely obliterated off of the earth. No, they just started to go under different names. Okay, so let's go back here to this book. Okay, page 8. Okay, it says Herod was shrewd, all right, and unscrupulous. He was a tyrant and was despised by the true Jews because he was an Idumean and not one of their own stock. Herod hated the people of Judah, and one of his first acts was to execute 45 of the leaders of the old aristocracy and eliminate any rivalry leadership. See, this is why when Yahushua came on the scene, those scribes and Pharisees and priests who had sold out was like, look, we got to get Yahushua out of here because he gonna ruin what we got going on, because they had, been set up under the Roman Empire, all right, and they sold out. See, it says, so he eliminated any rivalry leadership, and pretty much all of the Jakes eventually sold, not all of them, a lot of them sold out to him. It says, having secured the kingship, Herod next destroyed the priestly line of Hycranus, the last being Antigonus, which you can look up history on him, who taunted Herod with his Idumean origin and asserted that the kingdom should fall on one of the royal family, which is ultimately Yahushua, man. So Antigonus, all right, was like, mocking him. And he, I'm guessing before he died, he was like, nigga, look, you're going to eventually fall to Yahushua, man, because he's of the royal family of David. It says, finally, he murdered Aristobulus, he's of that line, the last of the Arianic high priest. Herod then sought to affiliate himself with the high priesthood through Miriam, all right, which was an Israelite woman, all right, sister and daughter of a high priest. And this is why, all right, a lot of that lineage, kind of looked like Jake's, because he married a Israelite woman. Anyway, it goes into what Herod did. He rebuilt the temple as it was in ruins from repeated sieges. All right, going back to the Greeks, yada, yada, yada. It goes into some history. You can read that. All right. So from there, okay, it goes into what? All right, let's read it here. It says, the land was not the kingdom of Judah, but the nation of the Jews, Judeans. Okay, historically, the Edomites became known as Jews, a term derived from Judea, which was derived from the name Judah, being the royal line of Israel, though they were never Judah or Israel. They were never Israelites. You see? Now it jumps to what? The history of 70 AD. Okay, and we'll get a little bit more and close it out. It says, during Titus's siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, which is prophesied, all right, by Yahushua himself in Luke 21 and 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Okay? Ultimately, we're going to be cast out of that land again. Okay? So this is what happened. And we were led captive into all nations. The true Israelites, all right, didn't stay in that land as a nation. But who was there? Let's keep going. During Titus's siege of Jerusalem, 66 AD to 70 AD, 2,000 Idumeans appeared before Jerusalem to fight in behalf of the zealots who were besieged in the temple. All right, because you still had some who, were fighting in that military. It says about 97,000 inhabitants of Judea were taken captive, and an unknown number had fled, all right, either before or during the siege, all right, and that's where we fled into the interiors of Africa. Some went to Europe, eventually we settled in, west, north, and some of South Africa, all right, Europe and various different places, but we were kicked out of the land. It says here, this is the last mention of the Edomites as a people in history, yet Bible prophecy indicates that Edom would be the enemy of Israel in latter times. We find that their only connection to a present-day people and religion is with the Jews and Judaism, which Judaism, when you go into it, it's a mixture of a bunch of madness. And they deal with the Talmud and all kind of stuff. Okay. But really what we follow was the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay. It says we thus need to trace back the origin of those people, those J's, to see how they are, who they are, and how they fit into the puzzle of who is Esau Edom. So then the writer of this book goes into the origin of the JEWs. Okay, it says the Jews of today fall within two main types, the Sephardic and the Ashkenazi JEW, right? Now, a lot of people say that the seed of Japhet, all right, are the people who were in the land, right? Because of this term Ashkenazi. Now, when you go to, let's see here, see if I pulled it up. Let's just go here. Let's just type in Japhet. Genesis. Let's see here. Genesis 10 and 21. No, not that one. Genesis 10 and 2. Here we go. The sons of Japhet, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. Now, these are lands that were, these lands where Esau's ruling out of today, they were originally Japhetic lands. Then it says the sons of Gomer and Ashkenaz. Now, the people who call themselves Ashkenazi Jews, okay, they do not claim, okay, to be descendants of Japhet. They're saying they're Ashkenaz based upon the fact that their forefathers and foremothers came out of Germany. All right, which really Ashkenaz goes back to, it should go back to Turkey. All right. Let's see here. Name of a region or the nation in northern Asia sprung from the Armenians, yada, 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 near Armenia, unless it were a province of that country. The modern Jews understand it to be Germany and call that country by its Hebrew name, all right, Ashkenaz, which is only to be attributed to their wonderful ignorance of geography. Because really, I believe when you go into it, it's Turkey, all right? But a lot of their foreparents came from Turkey as well and from Germany, all right? But they were Edomites, You see what I'm saying? So let's go back here to, and those people aren't saying, those people who call themselves Ashkenazi, JEWs, they're not saying they're the seed of Japhet. They're physically calling themselves Ashkenazi based upon the location where they say their foreparents, who they call the JEWs, were, not linking themselves to the seed of Japhet. Okay, because that wouldn't make any sense. How could you be the seed of Japhet and then Shemitic? So for you people who keep using that argument, you really need to understand history. It says, all right, so let's keep reading. It says, many reference and historical sources have unequivocally identified the bulk of, the Ashkenazi, were derived from a people known as the Khazars, or Chazars, or Czars, Caesar, all right, which is a ruler. It says the original Ish Encyclopedia of 1905 revealed that the main stock of, the Ish people came from this Asiatic people known as Chazars or Khazars. Okay? Khazar, a people of Turkish origin, whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginnings of the history of the Jews of Russia. Historical evidence points to the region, of Urals as the home of the Chazars. So really, what he's basically letting you know is that the people who are currently in the land come from these people, which were the Khazars. You see? Now, like this, a lot of people say, well, the Edomites disappeared. No, they just started going under different names. Okay, they according to prophecy, they would rule. As a matter of fact, let's get the book of Lamentations 4. Okay, Lamentations 4 and 21, it says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup shall also pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sin. So the final captivity of the Israelites will be by the hand of the Edomites. See? Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, the final scripture in the book of Obadiah, the first chapter, or Obadiah, because there's only one chapter, is verse 21 says, and saviors shall come up on the Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. There you go. Okay? So Esau's kingdom being judged, okay, as the scriptures say, they drunk upon the holy mountain. Okay, as a matter of fact, right here, Obadiah verse 16, for as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. They shall drink and shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion there shall be a deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. There you go. So who's drinking on the holy mountain right now? Well, you have a mixture, but the main people, okay, are the the E's. All right, and hopefully this video stays up. Let's go back here. Okay. And then you can keep reading. Okay. And it goes into the Khazars, which there's a video on the Khazars as well. See here. See if I can look it up here. All right, this videos Israelite brothers do, but they're just going to give you, theirs. And some of these people go into some decent history, but there's a brother who did a video on it, but you know that ain't gonna show up first. Okay. But anyway, when you go back to this book, okay, he's just giving you the history of them. All right, it says the Ish author and historian Arthur Koestler also concludes that the majority of Eastern European Jays and hints of world Jewry is of Khazar and not of Semitic origin. Okay? See, but they're trying to link them to the seed of Japheth. They are of Shem, but it's through Isaac and Esau. All right? Not Isaac and Jacob. And that's what a lot of people have messed up. And that truth had to come out through us. The scripture said the man of sin will be revealed by the word or the mouth of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which is the true prophets. These people don't have the full truth. But they do go into some very, very good history, all right, that works for us as well, because these Edomite Christians, look, they hate these Amalekites. They hate these people who call themselves the Jays. They despise them because ultimately they stole all of the wealth and they didn't really distribute it throughout the nation of Edom. So they're angry. All right, and it goes into some other history. It says the best, we're going to jump to page 11. It says the best historical evidence, therefore, shows that the Jays are not descended directly from the Israelites through Jacob of the Bible, but derive much of their ancestry from the Khazars, all right, and other people of Turkish Asiatic blood. The Khazars are also of Edomite stock, which is weird. They, at one point, all right, they'll try to link them to Japheth, but then they'll say that they're Edomites, which not Japheth. All right, they're all over the place. All right, and that, you know, it goes into more history. All right, you know, that you can, you know, you got the book, you can look this up. All right, but also when you read this book, you got to know where it goes off, because they go off in certain points. All right, but they do a good job of tracking these devils, okay? And they're the devil themselves, all right? But it just fulfills prophecy that they're, as the scriptures say, thine own mouth. Okay, Job 15:6, thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I, yea, thy own lips testify against thee. See? And that's what's happening. Okay, let's get the book of Isaiah 26. All right. In 9, with my soul have I desired thee in the night, yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. See, that's what's going to happen when the true Israelites get that land. Micah, the 4th chapter, goes into that. But let favor be showed unto the wicked, which it has been, yet he will not learn righteousness, and in the land of uprightness he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. Okay? Let's see here. Let's get the book of the book of Ecclesiastes real quick. The wicked buried. That's what I'm looking for. Yep. Ecclesiastes 8 and 9. All this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. Whew. And so I saw the wicked buried who had come and gone from the place of the holy, and they were forgotten in the city where they had done. This is also vanity, all right? And the wicked, all right, are getting ready to be buried, all right? And they're in the place of the holy doing evil and wickedness, okay? Isaiah 63. Okay. Isaiah 63 and 17. O Yahweh, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways? and erring from the ways, which is why we would get kicked out of the land. And harden our heart from thy fear. Return for thy servants' sakes the tribe of thine inheritance. Okay? The Israelites, the people of thy holiness, have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. We are thine. Thou never bears rule over them. They were not called by thy name. So the prayer is that we return to that land, because the heathen, the people who are not called by the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, are not in that land. But they will be returned unto that land. Okay? Baruch chapter 2 and 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. See? And that's what's happening now. And who are we captive to? The Edomites. Verse 31, and shall know that I am the Lord their God. All right. For I will give them an heart and ears to hear. This is how the Hebrew language has returned unto us. The name of Yahweh and the name of Yahweh Shai. He gave us a mind to understand those things through divine intervention, the Holy Spirit or Hakwadash. Okay, the Comforter. And it says, and shall know that I am the Lord their God, for I will give them hearts and ears to hear, which your heart is your mind. It says, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name, and shall return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which have sinned before the Lord. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. Okay, and when we get in there, ain't going to be any war. Okay, and we're all going to be perfect. I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their God, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people Israel out of the land I have given them, which we've been driven out of that land, you know, going back to Adam and the sons of God, all right, which we went into earlier, all right, but this great awakening is ultimately so that the remnant, which, you know, are directly of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, could be heirs to that promise to return unto that land. Okay, so this is why there's so much friction surrounding that land. Okay, but clearly, as we have this scripture here, okay, let you know that the Adumia would appoint, all right, the land into their possession, to cast it out for a prey. And they're doing all manner of wickedness there. Okay, let's end it off here in Malachi 4. Okay, or Micah 4, Salakia. And 1, but in the last days it shall come to pass that in the mountain of the house, all right, that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in top of the mountains, all right, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow into it, and many nations shall come and say, let us go to the mountain of the Lord Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways. That's not happening now. And we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And they shall judge amongst many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. All right. Neither shall they learn war anymore. Okay. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahweh hath spoken it. Peace is going to be issued forth from the true tabernacle of David being restored back in that land. All right. So that's it, man. I mean, there's a lot of more history I could have went into, but I'm going to, Lord willing, put this in the description box so you can just read. There's more history. Okay, it just tracks these people, you know, letting you know that these, you know, these people ain't it. So we'll go into some more history out of this book, as I read more. But this all pretty much brings to light, okay, Luke 21. All right, Luke 21 and 24 let you know that Jerusalem, all right, will be in control of heathen, the actual Gentiles, all right, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled via the revival of the fourth beast, which is ran by you Edomites, in which in that you would have control of the Holy Land. All right. So hopefully you all were edified. On to the next.